Hello, and welcome back to Joy in Our Town. I'm Dr. Patricia McAlpine, and we're going to continue on in this segment talking about the issue of substance abuse and the topic of heroin addiction. We have with us Blanche Gallimore. She is from Betterdayz through Jesus Christ. Blanche, thank you so much for joining us here at Joy in Our Town. Can you give us just an idea of what is heroin?
Well, it's an opiate, and also it's a synthetic morphine.
Okay, and it seems to be a drug of choice here lately.
Yes. Uh-huh.
How has heroin become so prevalent at this time?
I think a lot of it is because of how cheap it is and easier access to get to than prescription drugs.
So, are you saying that maybe heroin has taken over where prescription drugs have left off?
Yes, I believe that.
Okay. Is that in comparison to what other type of drugs that are out there, like the methamphetamines and things like that? Is it a choice over that as well?
I believe so, because they say from what I've talked to people who've been on heroin, they said it's an easier access to get to, and it's a cheaper and it's a better high.
Okay. Who uses heroin?
Just it could be anybody. I've heard young people. I know a 12-year-old who has used. It could be anyone. It doesn't matter. Just anybody who wants to to get high.
Okay. What would you say, or what would you say to people who say, oh, well, a heroin user looks a certain way, or they're from a certain social settings or social economic settings? What would you say to those people?
I would say it doesn't have to be just those people. It could be anybody. It could be, I know people who's been raised in church and lived in a good, godly family, and they fell into drug use. Mm-hmm. It could be anyone. I mean, it doesn't matter what background they had or how good they've been raised or how rich or how poor. Anybody can fall into it. That's
very good. Tell us, what are some of the effects that you've seen as far as heroin is concerned, or heroin addict?
The effects I've seen, I've seen people, I know people that's lost their lives. Just a few months ago, one of the young men that was in our group, he had overdosed on heroin. He had just started using heroin, and he just got a bad supply of it, and it took his life.
Is it easy to get addicted to heroin?
Yes. They say it's probably one of the most addicting drugs there is out there.
And would you have any idea as to why that is?
I can't remember the name of the that's inside of that's mixed with the heroin that causes it to be so addicting. But there is something that's in it that makes it more addicting.
It seems to be very potent, whatever that is. It seems to be very potent. What are some of the hazards to becoming addicted to heroin?
Well, you could end up losing your life, collapsing your veins, infections, bacterial infections. It can cause problems with your heart and liver and your kidney. You can get liver or kidney disease from it by using.
And these are some of the things that people don't think about when you think about just getting high or getting away from yourself at that moment. You don't think about the things that can happen, the repercussions afterwards.
Right.
What are some of the long-term effects of heroin use?
Long-term, you've got a lot of restoring in your brain to get, because when you start using heroin, it affects your brain and slows you down. And
is it easy to get off of heroin?
No.
Say if we're addicted, is it easier to, I can kick this, next week if I want to?
No, you're not going to kick it in a week. You're not going to kick it in 2 weeks. It could take years to completely, get yourself free from it, to get your life back, like your memory and your health, and it could take years. They said, I just seen a study say that it could take up to 10 years for your body to operate the way it's supposed to.
So, and that's 10 years of no use,
No use.
but just from the time that you stop, 10 years later.
Good, yeah. That's just from what I've seen, but I've also seen people, not take so long, and that's where God comes in.
Yes, I believe that as well. We talked a little bit about some medical complications, because again, that's not something that people really think about when you're thinking about, getting a high. And some of these medical complications can be long term. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
Wow. What about the innocent of anyone of the group? How does heroin affect a pregnant woman and the fetus afterwards?
It could cause many complications with the mother.
Baby afterwards, I'm sorry. Yeah.
With the mother, it could cause lots of complications during your pregnancy, because, and with the baby itself, it could cause, when it's born, it could become addicted to heroin as soon as it's born, and then it's got to go through a process of getting, weaning it off of the heroin, because the baby is so addicted to it that it has to have it. It's heartbreaking to see that. I mean, you see that every time you go into the Indianapolis at the Children's Hospital. You see that, and it's heartbreaking to see that.
Yes, and I'm sure there are long-term complications for the babies as well. I mean, it's not something that they just can kick, and I mean, they have to go through detox as well.
Right.
That's as an infant. Wow, it's hard to imagine that something can drive you to a point where you don't think about those consequences of your action, that it's not only affecting you, but it's affecting your child as well.
Right.
Why is heroin users at special risk for contracting HIV, AIDS, and hepatitis B and C?
Well, most of it's from using the same syringes from somebody else, dirty needles.
Yes, and I'm sure sharing
Sharing the same needles.
Yes, and then sharing different. I wonder if it's also coming from sharing the different tools to make heroin. I wonder if that would be a concern as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, tell us, let's go back a little bit to talk about the effects of heroin in a person's life, but not only in that person's life, but how does that affect their family? We talked about pregnant women. How does it affect the family members?
It affects them in a lot of different ways. It's heartbreaking, especially if you're a mother and you have to sit and you watch your child, become addicted to a drug that you have no clue about and don't understand why they turned their life, turned to that drug. And they have to sit and watch them, not only be sick from, wondering when they're, or what, they have to watch them not out, and then they watch them with their appearance, I mean, they go from cleanliness to who, they don't care what they look like, and then they lie, and I mean, a parent goes through a lot with an addict, with a child who is an addict, because they get lied to, they get stolen from, they get hit on. I mean, I've seen it, that where the parents get abused, and then you have the other children in the family who are seeing this, and it's heartbreaking for them because they don't understand why, big sister or big brother or whichever way it may be,
right.
Why are they doing this? Why are they like this? And it can affect it in a lot of different ways with the family. Financially, I've seen parents, just give, and enable their children, and not, instead of getting them help, they want to keep giving because they think they got to have that drug. And when they're on heroin, sometimes they got to have that fix, and they'll do anything they can to get it.
Okay. So, and you're even saying that you've seen parents that have actually enabled in that way, giving them money,
Yes.
just to, because they see that they're in such pain.
Yep.
That's the really sad part about this. How can a person, if they don't know anything about the drug, and you talked about the appearance, how can they recognize that there is something wrong? And even if there's physical things that they can look for, or physical things within that personality changes. Could you talk a little bit about those things?
Well, physical, they can notice that, like shirts. A lot of times, if someone's using heroin and they're shooting it, they'll wear long sleeve shirts all the time, and to cover up the marks, and they'll stop being social. They'll be in bed a lot. You'll notice nodding out, and if they've just used, you can notice that their mouth will be very, very dry, and then their pupils will be small, and I mean, I could go on and on.
Yes, several different. Yeah, but it's good for people who are out there that are listening and they don't know what to. They see a difference and they don't know what that difference is. And then this is really good for people to make that assessment of the person that they're concerned about. What are some of the treatments for heroin addiction?
Well, they could get into like a detox. There's clinics that detox, like Harbor Lights is one of them in Indianapolis. They have a detox program. Detox is one of the things that they have to do in order to get into a program, like the House of Ruth in our community. They have to be, in order for them to take someone in, they have to be detoxed from the drug. And I'd say with heroin, I think it's like 6 days. You got to be detoxed at least 6 days before you can get in that program.
Okay.
But detox is the first thing you got to do, unless you can get into a program that can do all of it. And there is programs like that detox and plus put you into a program.
Your organization, Betterdayz, through Jesus Christ, what are some of the things that you do for when people first come to you as an addict?
We love them. We just listen to them and see what we can. First thing we need to listen to them and see what they need, because sometimes they just need somebody just to talk to. And once we see what they need, we start giving them tools, which is we're faith-based, so we give them scriptures, and we share our testimonies, because my son and I both, we've been in addiction, so we share a lot of it. We use our testimonies to, and we also have other people who have been in addiction come and speak and share their testimonies, because sometimes that's what it takes, is being able to know that somebody's been there.
Yes.
To be able to for someone to listen to you.
That's very important. It's just that going through something, to know that someone else has been through the same thing and they were successful coming out of that. So we do appreciate people opening up and letting us know those things. We have about maybe 15 seconds or so. What is the main thing that you would say to a parent that is dealing with a child in addiction? What is the one thing that you would say to them now?
Stop enabling them and get them help. Whether that help would be turning them into the law, because sometimes that's the best help that you can give your child. Is if they don't want to admit that they need help, get them help.
Exactly. That's perfect. Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us at Joy in Our Town.
It's now time for the results of the Homecoming Queen election. The second attendant is Denise Willard. The first attendant is Katie Higgins. And now, your homecoming queen is... Okay, here we go. Becca Weininger.
True beauty. Pass it on. A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
Welcome back to Joy in Our Town. I'm Dr. Patricia McAlpine, and we're going to continue on in this segment talking about the issue of substance abuse and the topic of addiction recovery. We have with us Derek Harrison. He is addiction counselor at the House of Ruth. Derek, so thank you so much for being here at Joy in Our Town. And this is something that, we all need to hear, whether we're recovering ourselves or we're helping other people recover from addiction. How does a person who has been addicted start on the road to recovery?
It starts with a choice. It was a choice that many people have made to get into addiction, and just as many bad choices and different events in your life that led up to the addiction, that has to begin to reverse, whether that be in the family, whereas before a lot of times families want to cover it up, or they don't want to address the issue. Mm-hmm. There has to come a breaking point in families, maybe, or sometimes it comes when law enforcement gets involved and a person goes into the system, and then that person has to make a choice of what they're going to do with that and to turn their life around. And so addiction recovery starts with choice, making right choices.
Okay, is addiction recovery as easy as a choice? I'm just going to choose not to use. I'm going to choose that I'm going to recover tomorrow. Is it as simple as that?
No, it's not as simple as that, because two of the main arguments of most people who are involved in addiction recovery is addiction a disease or is it a choice? And some people believe it's disease-based, and some people believe it's choice-based. And you got to meet in the middle, because it's a disease of choice. It's a disease that affects a person in the very parts of their brain where choices and judgment is involved. And so, is it as easy as can a person just have willpower? Sometimes, maybe. It depends on the person, depends on how long they've been in addiction, what type of addiction there's, what type of background they have, what kind of environment that they're going back into. There's so many different things that are involved that it's hard for someone to say and pinpoint or have a simple answer or a one fix for every addiction. And
yes.
So.
Derek, tell me, why does it seem, and maybe it just seems this way, that people are more prone to addiction in these days than they were, say, even 5 years ago?
I think a lot of it has to do with culture. Mm-hmm. There's been a culture shift today, and the glorification of drugs that we see in our television, in music, across in our social networks, the acceptance of it, the legalization of marijuana, and now the topic of what else is going to be legalized. And so much of it has to do with the acceptance level. There's an acceptance level of things now that that wasn't there before. Yes. And so, and then I think there's a lack of role models in our generation.
Very good. Yes.
Our generation is very self-indulgent, mm-hmm. very live for the day because we're going to die tomorrow. Yes. You have a lot of that's prevalent in today's culture of eat, drink, because tomorrow we die. And so,
which is so not true, but
yeah.
But I do understand that you're right. I think that's what the problem that we face today. And tell me, because I was going to say we face today with young people, but addiction is not just a young person's issue or problem. I mean, I'm sure we have more people that are addicted to drugs that are probably middle-aged, 20s, 30s, 40s. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it affects people from. There's no certain age. Mm-hmm. There's no certain whether you're male or female. There's no socioeconomic status that says there's no stereotype with addiction anymore. Whereas before, like I said, people we just stereotyped addiction. You don't have that anymore. You have whether it's your elder population that's has an increase in prescription drug abuse and dependency, mm-hmm. or whether you're young people who are using more designer drugs, over-the-counter drugs, drugs that we haven't seen before, like spice, people using Corseed and cough and cold medicine, young people that they can go into your Dollar General and just steal that. And so you're seeing things that you never seen before, whereas before, and marijuana has always been popular across all age groups, but it seems like there's certain things that affect different groups, but it goes all the way.
Yes, and you know, and trying to get people help. I mean, there's several reasons why people, you know, they get addicted. Let's talk about that road to recovery. How do we get people from where they are to where they need to be? And I would like to hear your story. Why are you so passionate about this? How did you become an addiction counselor?
Well, my story starts when I was 15 years old. I became addicted to pain prescriptions by going to the dentist. I was prescribed pain medication, and from that time I started an addiction to prescription pills. And then by the time I was 17, I was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Mm-hmm. And from 17 till 25 years old, I was in and out of prison, and was in the system. But there came a point where I went into a program that was in prison called the Therapeutic Community, and it was a great program. But then I transitioned back into the community. There wasn't nothing there. I went back to Connersville. There was nothing there. I always had a great family and support, but I didn't choose them. I chose to go back to the mud, as they say. The pig always returns back to the mud. But and that's what I done. And so, but then I had a near-death experience at the end of 2011, 2 back-to-back near-death experiences. And I went back to jail, so I was facing, you know, the prospect of going back to prison for a third time. Yes. I had 12 years of probation over myself. And the prosecutor in Connersville, Indiana, you know, some people say, you know, I've never had a break. I never, you know, the system's just out to get me. But they weren't, because they had the Therapeutic Community before that had given me an opportunity. Yes. But I didn't take that. But now here's this prosecutor. She says, we're going to give you a year on house arrest. And what are you going to do with it? And so I took that, and I was in school at the time at Ivy Tech here in Richmond, and I took that opportunity that she gave me, changed my degree to addictions counseling or human services, and now I work at the House of Rood and have turned that around because of an opportunity that I got from, you know, our local state government, our local government, and because of also because of what I learned before in prison. So it was an accumulation of things, really.
Do you feel like going to prison and getting in the system was the best thing that happened to you?
Yeah, it saved my life in times when I didn't have no control, didn't have no management of my life, and prison was a place that it gave me structure. It gave me a time to get clean, but there wasn't. I was young when I went. I was 17, and from 17 up until about 23, I just in prison. There's drugs also, and so I made a lot of wrong choices in prison. But it really had an impact on my life, I believe.
That's a blessing, because I mean, we're talking to our audience who, you know, maybe they're at the beginning of where you were at 17 or 20 or 25, and they're thinking this is the end of the road. I mean, going to prison is it, and I'm done. What would you say to that person?
You're never done. Life's never over. Life is about what are you going to make with it. Get the information that's out there. That's why I think this is a great program, because education serves 2 purposes. It serves the purpose of allowing us to understand, giving us understanding, and it also gives us the opportunity to experience life experiences or shared experiences, because a lot of people think I'm alone or I'm going through this alone, but education comes or information programs come and says, you know, you're not unique. You just need to get the information that's out there. You need to get the resources that are available, and what are you going to do with it? And so that's what education, learning changes us.
Yes.
And so get the education that's out there, get the resources that are out there, and make the right choices, and life's not over.
Yes. Well, and I'm about step by step. So let's go down step by step. Say if a person is just now discovering that they know that they're addicted, what is that person's next step, in your opinion?
They need to admit that they are powerless over it, that they are not in control of their life any longer. But then they need to get into a support circle that's going to direct them towards the right resources and get them into the right program. Or if you don't have that support and you want to do the research yourself, it's as simple as get on Google and you Google it. Go to your local law enforcement, your clerk's office, and different things like that, and ask what's available in my city. Go to resource centers and things in your city and ask what's available. Call the Hope House in Richmond, and they'll direct you towards, you know, what's more appropriate for you. Or if you're in Connersville, call the House of Ruth. And you know, these programs, they're not just more interested in getting a person into their program, but they'll also direct you. And you know, like the lady I work with, Sharon Cranfield, she gets women into programs that are as far as in Tennessee.
I was going to say, are there more maybe national programs that have come up that people can, 'cause, you know, and I know, you know, people may be visiting from out of state and they are dealing with this, or their parents are dealing with this. Are there other national programs that people can get involved in or go to ask for help?
Yeah, definitely. There's plenty, especially a lot of faith-based programs that have definitely popped up in the to address the issue of addictions. There's Darlene Bishop. She has a home over in Monroe,
yes.
Ohio. There's I can't remember all of them, but there's places down in Manchester, Kentucky, Winchester, Kentucky, and I know a lot of them are more like Darlene's home. She takes in women and also allows them to come in that are mothers also. And
Yes.
so, you know, some mothers, they might be afraid to go and get help because they say, well, am I going to lose my child? And so,
Right.
you know, get into the right program, you know, for yourself. You know, do the research and get with people who care and who will direct you, and you can have a successful program.
Yes. What about people who are just now coming out of prison? What are some of the steps that they can take right now after, you know, maybe they have already gone through detox? It's like, what can I do right now to move forward to better my life?
Don't come out of prison. Don't think that you can do it. Don't be afraid to admit that you can't do it yourself. And before you get out of prison, already be making those steps. Like for women, there's women who contact Sharon Cranfield at the House of Ruth, and they already are making those steps to transition into the House of Ruth. And that's what the House of Ruth is there for, is for women to come out. We have a homeless shelter in Connersville, Indiana, called the House of Job, the Bev Job House, and it allows coming straight out of prison to go in. So you're not, because most people that come out of prison